Bismillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, guys, to a new series called the Revert series, where we're going to be bringing on students who are reverts, and then they'll tell us a bit about their story, inshallah, hoping to benefit the viewers, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Today, we've got a very special guest, Allahumma barik. This guest right here, inshallah, Isa, if you want to introduce yourself.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Isa. I'm 22 years old from Northwest London, alhamdulillah. Been attending Madinah College for about a year, inshallah. Benefit from the college, alhamdulillah. I'm originally from Albania and born and raised in London, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah, alhamdulillah. So it's nice to have you here, alhamdulillah.
Nice to be here, alhamdulillah.
Just the first question we're going to kick off with, inshallah. How long have you been Muslim for?
I accepted Islam in 2018, 4th of November 2018. Alhamdulillah, I've been Muslim for, did maths, how long have I been Muslim?
2018,
4 years, alhamdulillah. 4 years and a bit, 4 years and a bit, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Was that like, was it soon after you came into like encounter with Islam, or did it take like a while for you to revert?
That's a good question, subhanAllah. That's a good question. I'd say when I became convinced of Islam is different to when I took my Shahada.
Yeah.
So I think when I became Muslim, obviously 2018, but when I became convinced of Islam, it was like year 9 or year 10. So how old are we in year 9, year 10? Like
14, 15.
14, 15 years old. I think that's when I was convinced of Islam.
Oh,
It took me a bit of time to actually accept it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, cool. Let's just wheel it back a little bit. Just tell us your story from the start to beginning. How did you first come across Islam? What were the first? Did you have like Muslim friends? So just tell us your story.
In terms of encounter with Islam, I think that's I mean, I've been growing up with Muslims, alhamdulillah. I live in Northwest London and live in Harrow. So I've been growing up a lot with Somalis, Afghans, Pakistanis. So I always knew about Islam. And so that I've never had a bad image of Muslims or Islam in any type of way because I had friends that were Muslim. But what made me start really, researching about Islam. No, before we get to that, I'll go back from the absolute start.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Okay, inshallah. Bismillah. So I'd say from the start, I used to go to a Catholic school.
Okay.
In, I believe it was like year 9, because I had to do my baptism and Holy Communion. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's what Catholics have to do. I've done it very late, baptism. You see the video of the babies.
How old were you when you did it?
I was in year 9.
In year 9 when you got baptized?
Yeah.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah, subhanAllah. Very late, right?
So how does that work? Is it like some bathtub or some...
That's quite a funny story because people, when they hear someone getting baptized, they imagine someone, their head getting dunked in water.
Yeah, that's the videos I've seen.
Exactly, yeah. But since I was in year 9 when I done it, they couldn't really do what they do to babies to me. I'm a bit grown. So they just slightly put my head in water,
Okay.
Nothing really too crazy. But yeah, like I was saying, with most Christians always have like this doubt with Christianity. And, the ones that become Muslim, of course, they had that doubt beforehand. And there was 2 main doubts for me. It was, firstly, why do I need something in the middle between me and God? Why do I need a person, a holy person, or an object, or anything like that to get closer to God? It didn't make any sense for me. From a very young age, that fitrah was installed inside of me, alhamdulillah. Allah kept me very safe on that path. And also another one was obviously Jesus being the Son of God, that not making sense. And from a young age, I didn't really accept any of that at all. I used to tell my parents, how can this make sense? I used to question them. And they used to just tell me, make sure you don't say that outside, otherwise you're going to get in trouble. So obviously, I was just, subhanAllah.
So you had all these questions for like your whole life, throughout your whole life?
Since I was, since from a young age, I always had questions that for example, that I wanted to be answered. I was always very quick, always thinking. And because I remember we had a lesson and everyone had to say what religion they believed in. And so it was Christianity, Islam, and just the major ones, right? And I had the Muslim kids go up and say like Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Okay.
And then when I heard Prophet, just in my head automatically I had Prophet, and I was like, oh wait, so I don't believe Jesus. I was like, I don't believe Jesus is God or Son of God. I was like, okay, he's a prophet then, because I just heard what a prophet meant from the Muslim children. So since a young age, if someone asked me, what are you? I'd say, okay, I'm Catholic. Okay, but do you believe this? Do you believe this? I say, no, I don't. Who's Jesus then? I say, he's a prophet. They ask me who's Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I just say, I don't know.
SubhanAllah. So before that, wait, why did you not think that Jesus was a God or Son of God at the time?
It just didn't make sense. There's many contradictions in the Bible, If we go through them, it's going to be a very long podcast. You know what I mean?
Was it the thought that a man couldn't
exactly.
be a
That
god at
a
the
man
same
could be a
time.
god at the same time. If Jesus was asked when his hour, he didn't know the Father. Only the Father knew. Many contradictions. It just didn't make sense to me.
Okay.
The fitrah, once Allah keeps you, alhamdulillah, once Allah keeps you safe, once you have the fitrah and it hasn't been too corrupted, the truth is clear. You know what I mean?
Alhamdulillah. That's the thing with Islam as well. Like, it goes in line with your natural inclination.
Yeah.
All the evidences, they go in line with it. Like, for example, that what you're talking about right now, like Surah Ma'idah, Allah says, "Kana ya'kulani ta'am." Just one statement just refuted the whole Trinity. Like, literally, Allah says they both used to eat food. Him and his mother.
SubhanAllah.
Isa alayhi salam, Jesus and his mother, they both used to eat food. And subhanAllah, imagine that. Because if someone's eating food, how can a God be dependent on food for them to stay alive? SubhanAllah. So that was profound for me, I guess. But yeah, so you thought he was a prophet?
Yeah, I thought he was a prophet from a very young age. But obviously, because like we're living in the West, obviously your family can only do so much for you, especially with Christians and Catholics. They're not even practicing in the first place. So if you even wanted to find people practicing this, it would be hard. Whereas Muslims, it's a bit easier to find because there's a lot of people practicing, so it's a lot easier. So obviously, I wasn't really too into faith for a bit, but every night I used to pray to God, just in a way that I thought, okay, this is correct. But I didn't know. Just from what I knew, I used to pray to God. I used to just ask Him, protect me. That's it. Protect me every night. My mum used to be so happy. She'd be like, oh, my son, he's
practicing
he's religious. Yeah. And then, now to get into the backstory,
Okay.
To get into the backstory. So, it's a long story, but I'll try to like summarize it into the main points. So obviously, I've seen Islam and Muslims from different angles my whole life, but it's different when you see someone in your family become Muslim.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Okay. That's when you're like, okay, let me actually look at this.
So your family member became Muslim?
Yeah, I have a family member became Muslim, alhamdulillah. All my brothers, alhamdulillah, are Muslim.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So how
don't know if we could include that in the podcast. But yeah, how did that happen? Well, I start with my first brother. He was not the most, best, behaved. Let's just say that he wasn't the best behaved.
Okay.
So, for me, that was the eye opener. Let's say you have a brother and you've known him to be a certain way your whole life, and that brother one day he makes a switch. Like everyone, you're growing up, and everyone's like, oh, that's your brother. That's your brother. You don't really understand, but okay, you just hear things about your brother. Cool. Now, so I went to visit him one day in prison, just like just a normal visit. We've done these visits many times before. My mom told me, oh, he's a bit different now. Okay. I'm like, okay, let's go and see what this difference is about. Yeah. I've known him my whole life. What do you mean he's become different? What made him become different? So I go in, and obviously you hear that image of your brother your whole life growing up. And I go in, I just see him, with a big smile on his face. I'm like, what's happened there? I'm just like, yo, did they, in the movies when they tie the guys to the seats and then they put their eyes open and they make them watch all the like when they're trying to brainwash them. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I thought maybe they done that to them. The people like drugs or something. You got brainwashed. You got brainwashed or something. I was like, what happened here? So I sit down, and he's just like to me, how are you doing? And he just asked me how I'm doing. He's having good adab. He's being polite to me. And my mom touches me. She's like, what he's about to say? Be careful.
Get ready.
Yeah, get ready. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. I'm just like, stop. Like, what do you want to say? Alhamdulillah, that's when he told me, oh, we as Muslims believe in Jesus. When he told me that was like the
first thing he told
was like
you.
the whoa. Yeah. We as Muslims believe in Jesus. And I was like, huh?
As Muslims? As Muslims?
As what I'm talking about. Yeah. And I was like, huh? What do you mean you believe in Jesus? I thought that's ours.
Yeah.
He's ours. You guys have, Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And he's like, no, we believe he's a prophet. He was sent to his nation, telling them to, worship one God alone. Just the general message of Islam. And when I heard that, I was like, what? My whole life, that's it. It's been a lie. Yeah. What? I was just like, wait a second, isn't that what I believe? SubhanAllah. So I was just like, tell me more. Then he starts telling me about Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He's the final prophet. He accepted all the messages before him. And straight away, everything just started to add up in my head. And I was like, wait a second. So you're telling me that all these religions, they claim Abraham. Ibrahim alayhi salam.
Yeah.
So, originally Musa came, or let's just say the Jews came, and they said, all the prophets before us were on the truth. Now we're the truth. And then the Christians came and said, all the prophets before us are the truth. Now we're the truth. But the ones before that, they rejected the ones after that.
I see. Yeah.
And then
Like the Jews, they
exactly. Now Islam came,
Yeah.
accepted everything before that, saying that, yes, these were the truth. These
Mhm.
messages, these prophets were true prophets.
Yeah.
Now we're the truth. We're the final. Because in order for that to be a test, there needs to be a final part of the test, you know? So I was like, you're telling me that, look at the sequence. And the last one is preaching monotheism to the best. Like Tawheed. No one's teaching it that same way that I believed from when I was a young age. I was like, how can you reject this? I was like, you gotta be an idiot. How can you reject this? So from literally, it only took me like a minute. That's it.
So you accepted it?
I knew it was the truth. I didn't accept it on the moment,
Okay,
shahada,
cool,
but
cool.
I said, this is the truth.
SubhanAllah.
Straight away.
What made your brother revert? Was it just like people that he was in prison with, or was it just like being alone and like inclining to the fitrah in that way?
From what I know, my brother became, this is from what he told me, he became Muslim when he was a lot younger because he used to chill with Somalis and, you know, so they used to just tell him, oh, you know, come become Muslim. And I don't know his exact story because I've never really asked him, like one-to-one, what's your exact story? Why did you accept it? But from what I know, he started actually practicing more the last time he went to prison.
Okay.
So he told me, you know, all the time in the world, just reading every book. And he just read the Quran and he was like, and he told me one night, so he was on that, you know, that lifestyle of, I'll do, you know, this is my life. I'm on this lifestyle, not the best lifestyle, you know. Alhamdulillah, obviously now he's not like that anymore. He told me one night, he woke up and that's it. He just said, something happened to him. He said, that's it, I'm not doing this anymore. Just one. It all just took one night. And he just made that change. SubhanAllah, when I had that, that's like a movie, you know what I mean? But, you know, Allah is capable of all things. That's nothing really, truly, in comparison to what Allah can do. So yeah, and then obviously prison visit is not going to be forever. So obviously he just told me, listen, go home and do research and let me know.
So he didn't try to force it onto
He
you?
didn't try to force me. He told me, do your
He gave
research.
you the evidences and...
He told me just the simple message of Tawheed.
Alhamdulillah.
And for me, that's the reason I became Muslim, because of Tawheed. You know, people, sometimes they come with like stories of, some crazy thing happened here, some this and this, that. But personally, it's Tawheed for me. Tawheed is that's the bread and butter of why I became Muslim. That's the main thing. Just the oneness of God, having that one true connection to God. Nothing in between. No, this guy's holy, go to him and he'll take you to God. No, nothing like that. I'm not interested in any of that.
Oh, very nice. What would you say to some people that say, sometimes I'm very sinful. How can I go to God by myself? I have to go through Jesus or the Father or whatever. You know, what do you call it? They go to church, they say,
go to the saints, or
the
Son, Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
To those people, I'd say, the same way the prophets went to God, you should go to God the same way. And that's the way they told you to do it as well. Worship God in the way in which the person who God sent to you worshipped God. That's the way to do it, right? You can't do it any other way. They were sent to you to show you the message, the complete message. So they came with every single way of worshipping Allah. There's no other way. So follow their way. That's the best advice I have to Muslims as well.
Yeah, Muslims as well.
I mean,
worship Allah the way He told us to worship.
Exactly.
Instead of just standing outside, doing some weird thing.
You mentioned like there was a time period like it took you to accept Islam. Was that because of like misconceptions, or was it because I remember you mentioned like, you know, that thing that you said about Jesus, like he's not the son of God. Your family said like, don't say that outside, otherwise you get in trouble. Or was your family like, they were a bit harsh with regards to you accepting Islam, or I don't know, why was there that time period?
I'd say that in the lead up to me becoming Muslim, I've done a lot of research. So I used to watch YouTube videos, stories of the prophets. And I used to just because this was the truth. I knew it was the truth. I was like, let me find out. Let me do. And I was looking at stories like the bridge, the story on the bridge on Day of Judgment, the scale, all these different stories. So I was just trying to really just increase my knowledge. And I didn't have any misconception about Islam. It was just that, I had a misconception with myself that many people have, is that I can't become a Muslim because I sin too much.
That's a big one.
That
was people think about this. Yeah.
Exactly. That was the reason I delayed it for one. I'd say I delayed it for so long. It's for that reason. I even delayed me telling my parents I was Muslim as well. So there was a gap between me knowing Islam's the truth and accepting Islam, and then there's a 1 year gap, exactly 1 year gap between me telling my parents I'm a Muslim. And the first one, of course, is the one I told you about. It's because I thought, because I sin so much, how can I become a Muslim? Muslims are supposed to be a certain way, or they're supposed to, for example, I'm hearing, I'm seeing these Muslims that are very pious, good people, go to the mosque. I'm thinking to myself, I do all these bad things. How can I do what they do? Would I be a hypocrite?
Yeah.
But then, you guys probably know the answer to this as well. But then one day, obviously, for me, I feel like I had a direct message from Allah that told me, no, you need to become Muslim now.
Explain.
Basically, you know what's funny? Before I said, people say they had this crazy thingy.
Yeah.
For me, accepting, knowing that Islam is the truth, it was Tawheed. But for me, taking my shahada was a dream, actually.
Wow,
So subhanallah, yeah. So I went to sleep, and I had a dream. It was the most realistic dream I've ever had in my life. It was me. It was just it was a bit of a random dream though. Like I was on top of, where it says like LA, Los Angeles.
Okay.
Like the billboard.
Yeah.
I think it's Los Angeles, right?
Hollywood.
Cut that one out. Hey, listen though. So I had a dream where I was in front of that with my dad and my brother, and we're looking at the city head on.
Okay.
And it felt so real. And I saw a beam of light slowly expanding from the middle of the city, coming towards us. Eventually just sucked me in. And when it sucked me in, that's it. I was levitating. I was like floating. It was felt like an out-of-body experience. I literally thought I was dead. I was just repenting, saying, no, like, I've died now. There's nothing for me. I'm going hellfire. You know what I mean? I'm just there repenting. Please accept my repentance. Please. I'm just slowly, it feels like I'm just floating in the middle of space.
Wow.
Or like, it was unreal. I can't explain that experience. In the moment, it was just something else. I thought I actually died. SubhanAllah. And then I wake up. And then I was just like, I looked at the time. I was like, I messaged my friend, the first I can think of. Today we're going Regent's Park. That's it, we're taking my shahada. He's like, don't worry, let's go. This time. We set up. Went to Regent's Park, alhamdulillah, took my shahada. I didn't do it like in front of people. I was onto the creep, really secretive. I done it just in the small room. If you've been to Regent's Park, maybe if you've away before, you see that small room in the corner where the mu'adhin is. Just done it with him, alhamdulillah.
Wow, subhanAllah. So that was like a warning dream.
That was like, whoa.
Wow, subhanAllah.
Accept it now or else
it
might be a bit of a, you know what I mean?
Allah
might be in trouble later on. SubhanAllah. And then between that and then also what Mustafa said, for example, between that and then actually telling my parents I'm Muslim, I used to be scared, like if I tell my parents I'm Muslim, they're gonna kick me out. Just this thing that we often hear by people. But most families won't kick you out, that's the thing. That's just a wiswas. Some families, they are a bit extreme. Exactly. Some families, are cool, they are extreme. But you need to remember that that's, at the end of the day, that's gonna be a trial for you. And you're gonna be rewarded for it, for going through that trial. So you need to remember the ones that were rewarded, the ones that were trialed the most were the ones that Allah loved the most. That was the prophets. So be happy that, I have a trial in front of me. I'm gonna use this, tell my parents for the sake of Allah, get closer to Allah by doing it as well. And He's gonna make it easy for me. So you need to affirm it, really believe it, you know what I mean? But Allah is Ar-Rahman, He's the most merciful. He's not gonna put you through something that you can't bear. There's a verse there.
لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا
وسعها. Allah does not test the believers with that which they can't handle. I believe that's the translation. So, but what happened? You know what's funny? It's not even funny actually. It's a bit sad. SubhanAllah. I was in my room and I had put that adhan on my phone.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's been a year. I haven't told my parents I'm Muslim yet. I only I pray on and off. I pray when I'm in sixth form. Like I pray in my break time and do Jummah in sixth form. But I'm not praying when I'm at home. So I was just like, what's the point of living? Like, you know what I mean? What's the point of living? Like, you're not even praying. Like, it's like, this is useless. Like, why are you even alive? You're not even serving your purpose. So.
You weren't even praying like by yourself or?
So, on and off. I was scared if I get caught that, that's it's the end. And what's funny is that my mom actually, she used to come to my room and be like, are you Muslim, by the way? No, are you Muslim, by the way? Are you Muslim? Like, are you sure you're not Muslim? I used to be like, Mom, what are you talking about?
What gave her those suspicions, though?
Because I think I used to not grow my beard properly, but grow my beard a bit. And I just because who I am and how I ask questions, she's like, yo, this guy probably became Muslim. You know what I mean? And so she used to ask that question. I used to be like, what's it called? Bismillah.
You used to open the door with the side eye.
You Muslim, huh? I was like, does she know? So one day I put that adhan on my phone, And then I'm just listening to it, and I just start crying. I'm just like, I'm just emotional. I start crying, not just, just crying. I'm just like to myself, us men, we have emotional moments as well. Of course, I'm gonna have an emotional moment when I'm not even serving my creator. Well, of course you're gonna be sad. You know what I mean? There's nothing else you should be more sad of other than that. I take it that's the right of Allah alone, and you're not giving it to him. So I just said to myself, you know what? I had all the momentum on my side. Time to go to the living room. So I walk into the living room, ready to, it's like I'm going to the Champions League final. You know what I mean? All on my side. I look at my mum, I sit down, I say, I just start going back and forth. I'm like, how can you believe this? How can you believe this? And my brother's just there having his biscuits, and he's like, wait a second. And she's like, what, did you become Muslim? I said, yeah. and then my brother goes, he's like, all right, I'm not in the room now. He walks out the room, and I'm just like, all right, that's my backup gone. And my mom's like, how dare you betray your family and this and that, and she's saying all this stuff, and I'm just like, nothing you can do about it. I just told her, there's nothing you can do about it. You know what I mean? And she's like, you know what? You're not gonna tell dad. Don't tell dad. Okay, I'm like, okay, cool. Go to my room. I tell my friends, everyone, tell my parents I'm Muslim. I did it. It was like, yeah, let's go. Everyone's very happy. Alhamdulillah. May Allah bless the brothers that helped me in my journey. Of course, they'll make it always dua for me, telling me, I always made dua that you're gonna tell your parents one day. Alhamdulillah, of course that helped. And then so I'm in my room, and my dad comes in. He's whispered from the living room. My mom said, my dad's like, what? And then, my mom tells me, don't tell your dad you're Muslim. My mom told him I'm Muslim. Oh, he hears. He's coming towards my room now. He gets a video of some guys spinning and some guys hitting themselves and some guys praying on in the snow, and then they start to fall down. I'm just there laughing. What are you showing me these videos for? I told him, listen, this isn't true Islam. This is what you've become. And you know what I mean? This is what you've become. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm happy because I can pray. You know what I mean? I can pray.
So at the time, did you know about those videos and what?
I knew what it was. I knew the group. That's why I started laughing. I was like, wait a second, is that really us? Is that what we do? No, of course I knew what it was. You know what I mean?
Cool.
And then, and after that, he's a bit shouting at me. And mom comes to me and says, "What? Don't shout at my son." She just shouted at me 1 hour ago. How dare you shout at my son? So you know how mum's doing it. And my dad leaves the room cold, and mum's like, you know what? She just grabbed me and says to me, "Don't worry. You can pray. You can do what you want. Just don't go too extreme." She's like, "But you know what? I love you. I'm always gonna love you." Yeah. So see all the things I was scared of.
Yeah.
It went away. You know what I mean? That quickly. Then I had my prayer. Then I didn't have a prayer at that moment, but then I prayed my first prayer at home. I was just over the moon. Alhamdulillah. And then my dad didn't talk to me actually for 3 days. And I used to just try crack jokes with him, I used to chat to him and be like, you're gonna stop soon. Yeah. And alhamdulillah, he stopped as well. Now to this day, alhamdulillah, it's been the way it is, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
You know what I mean?
So what are some struggles you went through with family at the start? What was it? Did they see a difference in your character or the way you were treating them and stuff like that? Or
I'd say that's a big advice that I'd give to even reverts and Muslims nowadays, is that, especially for reverts, is that, let's say your parents don't really know too much Muslims or too many Muslims, the main person they're going to look to is you. So if you don't have your character in check, and you just preach them the religion, but you're not acting upon it, then you're doing more harm than you are doing good in a way. In a way, you're doing more harm than you are doing good. Because I just think, oh, look, my son became Muslim. Now he's a bum. He smells bad. He doesn't look after himself. In the name of piety. That's backwards. That's not Islam. You know what I mean? But people have that misconception that, you know what I mean? That we have to drop the whole worldly life because now we're Muslim. No, it's a slow process. You know what I mean? Slowly introduce it to your parents as well, because you can imagine if one of you told your parents you're Christian. It's gonna be what? They're gonna lose their mind probably. You know what I mean? And the viewers as well, same thing. So for me, all the reverts to tell their parents they're Muslim, you need to be slow with it. Don't just go straight away and tell them, "Oh, mom, by the way, I'm gonna marry 4 wives tomorrow." You know what I mean? There's a place and time for everything. You know what I mean? You're not gonna do that.
Maybe not tomorrow, but in a couple of years. Yeah.
You're not gonna do that anyway.
No,
but, you know what I mean? You're not gonna do it anyway, but. You know what I mean? Just it's a time and place for everything. Same way the Prophet gave da'wah. You know, with alcohol, the verses, You know, slowly it was prohibited, not straight away, because you know that's the lifestyle they live. You can't go 0 to 100, 0 to 10, 10 to 20. It's a gradual process, gradual steps that you take towards, you know, for yourself first and foremost for yourself as a revert as well. You know, I didn't really learn the best way. I learned through making mistakes. So you know, you have that zeal, and then you just go into different, you know, do this and then debates here and debates there. But 0 to 10, 10 to 20, keep that gradual process. And when you're giving dawah as well, same thing. Slowly give the dawah, slowly. You know, what's the example? Huh? The cake. What's
Piece
the
by
cake example?
piece.
Piece by piece, not all at once. Otherwise you're gonna get sick.
So.
Subhanallah.
But you know, this advice can even tie into Muslims that are like born Muslims, because when they say they come from families that are not as practicing, and then they become practicing, and then it's kind of like the same dynamic.
Yeah,
Where,
the 0 to 100.
yeah, sometimes get zealous and then just start saying, "Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that."
Who do you think
He's
you want to tell
into
me my
it,
religion?
wise.
You're a little kid. That's what parents are
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah,
Like, who are
it's
you?
like-
Who's this kid now? Who's gonna tell me about my religion?
Yeah,
I'm the one who taught him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why you got to be really gradual with it. Of course, like,
so-
everything in life you need to be slowly. It's not a race, you know, or who gets their parents to come to the truth. Salafiya first, you know. It's not a race, you know. Slow and steady, man. Slow and steady. Slow and steady.
Oh, stand.
So,
Ah man, but yeah, how would you say your relationship with your parents has changed from before Islam and now?
oh, my parents. That's a funny one because my parents always say you didn't need Islam. You're the only one in your brother. He needed it because he had a bad path before. You don't need it. You're always good.
Wow.
But it's like that's not the truth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All of us, you know, without Islam, we're obviously gonna be nothing. We're gonna be bad. You know what I mean?
So.
Because we don't worship Allah. But before, I've always been that person in the family who, you know, the favorite child. I'm not gonna gas myself up, but my mom always loved me the most because, you know, I was just like always the kind of bright side, always trying to make everyone happy.
Nice.
But ever since I became Muslim, obviously I know that you have to obey your parents. You can't be rude to them. So I just started, you know, anytime I used to talk back to my parents now, as less as I can. I don't talk back to my parents. If I ever do transgress that, I'll go and kiss my mom, tell her I'm sorry. You know, I'll message her, make jokes. You know, I'll be in a different room to her. You just hear her laugh from another room. Just, you know, these small things. But you know what I mean? Just these things can really have a positive impact. And I tell my mom, by the way, mom, my religion is what makes me love you even more. You know, just these things, just these things to give them something to think about. You know what I mean? It's fine,
Well, like good manners and character goes a long way, man. Especially with
yeah,
families that
it's
are
the
like
main
not
thing.
so-
It's the main thing.
So.
Have you seen them have you tried giving them like da'wah anyway, or have you seen them being convinced that Islam is the truth a little bit, or not? Yes or no?
I mean, since young, I've always given them da'wah, but
Yeah.
I'd say now I've just been doing from character. I've already told them. I've already refuted all the doubts. I told them, this is where it says this in the Bible, it says this in the Quran. They'd say to me, okay, then why do you pray with your head on the ground? That doesn't make any sense. I showed them in the Bible where Jesus put his head on the ground when he prayed.
Yeah.
And just these things, they know it's like, for example, my mom even says, even if I debate with her all day, she'll say to me, you know what? Our religion and your religion are the only true religions in the world. So, I was raised Catholic, and she'll be like, and you were raised Catholic, but you chose to leave your religion. It's the thing where they won't leave their religion because the religion of their forefathers. And if Allah doesn't want to guide them, that's it. They'll never be guided. I do so. I've done the
You've
da'wah.
done your bit.
I've
You've
done my
done
bit.
your bit. So.
Now it's just for me to be the best example I can be. Inshallah, raise a family of righteousness, and so that they can see, okay, you know, maybe inshallah that can be the next step. Inshallah.
Yeah, you've done your bit now.
I've
Just
done,
go out and
that's just that. It's just up to Allah if He wants to guide my parents or not. Alhamdulillah, my brothers have been guided. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Even I've had cousins who know that Islam is the truth. They haven't become Muslim, but they know themselves. And it took me 1 minute to give them da'wah, and they said to me, yeah, this makes sense. Just like me, because we were raised in that same background, like, Catholic, but you know, when you hear the truth, it's for the heart that has not been corrupted yet. You know, with doubts and this and that shubahat, it's so easy to just take in. You're like, it just makes sense. I don't know about how you brothers start practicing in particular, but when you hear the truth, it's just how can you deny it? Makes no sense, man. Makes no sense. SubhanAllah. Makes no sense.
I think a lot of people, they know it's the truth, but they just fail to accept it because, like you said before, they have bad habits. They're not ready to leave off. They feel like they're gonna feel like a hypocrite if they become Muslim, and then they still have the same sins that they're doing, stuff like that. Maybe that's one of the reasons why. Yeah. But I'd like to say, a Muslim that's sinning all the time is better than a non-Muslim that's like
wow. I have
good characters.
I have such a SubhanAllah. One brother told me at work, he was like to me, you know, like I didn't even know he was Muslim at first because visually he didn't look like a Muslim. because of the way he's dressed and the way he walks, talks, acts.
Mm.
And he's like to me, and then I find he's Muslim. And slowly, and then but I hear him talking with my other colleagues, and he's talking about like sinning, doing this X Y Z X Y Z. But then he's like to me, you know what? Though he's talking to me, but he's like, you know what? Do I still pray? He's like, you know, because I saw a video, Shamsi talking about like, you know, the Muslim who prays is better than the person who prays and sins is better than the one who doesn't pray.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do any of the sins.
Yeah.
He's still better. And he's like, you know, ever since that day I started praying, and I was like, whoa, subhanallah, you know, like, Allah is deep, man. Because the praying is what's gonna take you away from that. Just sooner or later, be sincere, keep on praying. That's what's gonna take you away from that. Subhanallah. That's for me. That was like, wow.
I think that's a big thing as well, and like, even like say someone like they do bad stuff. That sometimes some people put them down, like, oh, you're praying and you're doing all of this and stuff like that. But it's a really bad thing to say.
They look down and say, why you just prayed and you're doing this now?
Yeah, subhanallah.
You're sinning, you're doing this, you're doing. That's not good because he's praying so he can get rid of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So over time is gonna you'll see the results soon, innit? Like over time when someone keeps praying on time, then like Allah said in the Quran, inna salata tanha anil fahsha wal munkar. Like if Allah's telling you salah is the thing that's gonna rid you of these fahsha, these evils, then you can't let someone tell you, oh, why you might as well pray. Just stop praying because you're doing all of this, bro.
That's why even us as people who seek knowledge, we need to, like, for example, you go through the books like what's that book we said? Mutun Talib al-Ilm. What's the book? That's the glorification of seeking knowledge. Yeah. These books, they humble you, really and truly, they humble you. They teach you how to seek knowledge. And when you go through these books and you actually go to the masjid and you have a teacher and you look at his manners, you think to yourself, I actually know nothing. Who am I to shame someone else? Who am I to tell this person, how are you doing that sin? And you like, you're almost like, what are you doing? Haram police, as they say, which is it's used in the wrong way a lot of the time. But some people actually take it too far when it comes to advising, you know? You need to be balanced, and everything in life needs to be balanced.
Because you never know, sometimes it can come back to them later down in their life, like a couple of years' time.
Yeah, you make fun of a sin.
Falling into the same sin.
Wallahi, maybe that's happened to us before. It happened to me before. I know that before. Don't know about, I can't say for the brothers. But I know, I've said, you look at like, what? I look down upon a sin and then exact same thing I was tested with.
Yeah, subhanallah.
You know what I mean? Wallahi, it's not because, we're not guided because we want to be guided. It's Allah. It's only from Allah. That's it. It's only from Allah.
Just like the ayah. إنك لا تهدي من أحببت ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء. You can't guide whoever you want to be guided. Allah guides whoever He wants. Well, that's so deep. It ties into your story as well. You really want your parents to become Muslim, right? But it's all up to Allah.
It's up to Allah.
There's only so much you can do.
I accept it. Alhamdulillah. Allah's plan is the best plan. It's only gonna make me stronger. Alhamdulillah. It's only gonna make me stronger.
Even the Prophet ﷺ, his uncle Abu Talib, he really wanted him to become Muslim, but Allah didn't destine it for him.
So he wanted to die in the religion of his forefathers.
It's
the story a lot of the time.
So what advice would you give to, say, a revert right now, just became Muslim? What should he do? He accepts the truth and then
there's a lot of advice we could give.
A
lot of advice that comes to mind. But I'd say number one, I'd say, I'd give two advices just to keep it, don't wanna keep the editor's job too long, but I'd give two advices. And the first one would be, like, kind of stay off social media, or stay off social media. Get off. It's very, I'd say, for people seeking knowledge, especially for new Muslims, it's very toxic. You see a culture of people, because it's social media, you don't really truly know the person. They're feeding you information about XYZ group and XYZ. It's not for this person. Slowly, and that's why you limit your time on social media, because you're going to be exposed to all these doubts and all these ideas, which we're not like, you know what I mean? We're not, even if you have the knowledge, you can't even combat that. So what's going to happen? You might be misguided. And I think I read something like, what was it? It was like, I think Sheikh Aziz Farhan, I think if you're in this group, the videos get sent. It was like, one of the worst things you can do is read something, I think. That's what I believe, that's what I read. Read something that's going to get doubt, will give you a doubt. It's like one of the worst things you can do. SubhanAllah, and that's what social media is. You know that you're going to find doubts on it. So why are you going to put yourself in that environment?
Social media as in specific, like these Twitter, these pages that have like Islamic content or Christianity versus Islam, stuff like
just
that.
Like, I'll say
specific.
More in general, like if you're on Twitter and these apps and you see all these debates and people talking about XYZ.
Debates.
Most reverts, a lot of reverts I've seen on social media have gone through that zeal where they're just going through debate and they don't know the basics of Tawheed. They don't know the basics of fiqh.
That makes sense.
And then they burn out. We know about this thing called the burnout. They burn out.
Burnout phase,
and that's like the most dangerous thing that can happen to you, because if you burn out, you don't know if you're going to be able to actually get back up. Who says you're guaranteed guidance? Who says you're guaranteed the way you are right now? You're going to be guaranteed to stay on that path. You're not.
So true.
So obviously, so I'd say it's be humble, stay off social media, and also main thing that helped me a lot, and that it took me time, but alhamdulillah, find a teacher. Find a teacher upon Quran and Sunnah, of course, on the Sunnah of the Salaf. I'd recommend Madinah College, of course. You know, a lot of good ustads, alhamdulillah, a lot of good benefits. All around London, we have a different masajid we can go to. No matter where you are, there's always a masjid around. Always a masjid around. I'd say have a teacher and follow his program. A lot like me, I got so excited when I became, practicing. I was like, let me buy this book, let me buy this book, let me buy this book. And I have a whole bunch of books. How many of them have I read? How many of them have I read? I don't know if you brothers have.
Me and you both, bro.
I don't know. You know what I mean?
Everyone does that.
It's like, it's not needed.
Like one day. But
one day I'll read
finish what you need to learn first.
Yeah,
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
So,
Go to have your teacher and tell him, I trust you, you're my teacher. Tell me what to do. I trust him, I've trusted him because we know, for example, our connection, the scholars are the inheritors of the prophets. And our connection to the scholars is through these teachers. We don't know Arabic yet. So we need to humble ourselves, not get involved in things that aren't for us. You know what I mean? If, just humble
basics
ourselves.
first.
Basics first. Basics first. Slowly. And eventually, when you solidify the basics, like the building, right? The foundation of the building needs to be strong in order for you to build something on top of it. If you just build, you keep on going higher, but the bottom is weak, it's gonna fall, it's gonna collapse sooner or later. Now we've seen examples like this many times. We don't need, SubhanAllah. May Allah protect us from that.
I mean. So that's your advice here. The first one, stay off debates and doubts on social media.
100%.
And the second one, find a teacher and stick to it and take it step by step. Don't be overzealous. Okay, now what advice would you give to someone he's on the brink of becoming Muslim, but he still has like these few doubts, or I don't know, he's just reluctant to become Muslim for whatever reason? What would you tell him to do?
I mean, the reason for me not becoming Muslim is because of the sins part. I think we already spoke about, how all humans, the children of Adam, we're sinners, of course. But I'd say, just be sincere, and just ask Allah, ask God, ask Allah, guide me to the truth. Sincerely ask Him. Sincerely ask Him. And it doesn't matter what perhaps your parents might be on misguidance. If you're born into a family who worshipped, bricks and rocks and nonsense, are you gonna just listen to what they? It's nonsense. You're not just gonna believe it because your family believes it. So really open your mind and just ask God for guidance. Inshallah, I think that will help a lot.
Yeah, that's good.
Because the person who's sincere, Allah will guide that person. There's two types of people: a sincere person and a non-sincere person, and that's it. That's the groups. If you're sincere, you'll be guided. That's it.
Inshallah,
You'll be guided.
that's a good one.
Inshallah. One day, if not now, sooner or later.
Inshallah, alhamdulillah. That was very beneficial, man. Jazakallah khair. Is there anything else you want to add? Last bits of advice for Muslims that were born Muslims or reverts or anything?
I'd say learn your religion, and it starts with changing ourselves, and like we said before, the process of growing like step by step, taking a step by step process. You have the example of the bottle. The bottle is full of filth. Take half out and then you put nice clean water. It's gonna be mixed with what? Filth and clean water. So the same with knowledge. For example, you have all those sins and you have all that bad that you just came from, and you take some out and then you start to mix all this advanced knowledge. I'm not saying basic, but all this big knowledge and so and so. It's gonna be mixed, and it's gonna be like you're gonna bring your bad habits to Islam, and that's where a lot of people start to go into different extremes, whether it be saying don't go to this masjid or this place, or perhaps going to there's many different extremes, many different examples. So I'd say get rid of those habits at the same time, building that solid foundation before you want to go to anything too advanced in knowledge. Step by step process, like we always say. Another one last one is, I think me and Abdullah spoke about on messages not long ago. I think he told me that, for example, it's easy for you to have an image in front of the people, like me, Mustafa and Abdullah. It's easy for me to look good in front of them. But what's really hard is to be that same person when you're with a family. Why? Because if I behave in a bad way, Abdullah or Mustafa, it's so easy for them to say, look, we're not going to chill with this brother anymore. We're not going to hang around with him. He's a bad influence. He doesn't bring any good to us. But your parents, they can't just do that to you. You live with them. So your true self comes when you're around your parents.
Families.
When you're around your family. So if you want to find out who you really are, SubhanAllah, you look how you are with your family, man.
SubhanAllah.
SubhanAllah, that's a deep reminder, man.
That's a deep
But Abdullah
one.
told me that one, I believe. SubhanAllah.
I was that. Barakallah feek, man. That was very beneficial, man. Jazakallah khair.
Oh, yeah.
Might have a part 2 to see if you have anything else to say.
I have no knowledge, Jackie, about that.
Inshallah, for part 2, when your parents become Muslim, how their journey.
So we'll bring them all on that. And we'll make them watch it, live reactions. And they'll be like, what? Is that what you said about us?
Oh, it's that, man. Bro, Jazakallah khair, man. Wallah, it was an honor to have you here.
Alhamdulillah, honoured to be here.
Barakallah feek, man. But yeah, guys, inshallah, we're going to bring more people on the podcast to give their stories about how they revert to Islam and their journey and their struggles. With that said, inshallah ta'ala, share this with your friends, families. You never know, there could be a possible Muslim that is watching videos online, but just needs that one video to just push them to
Potential Muslim.
Potential Muslim to, you know, just push them to like accept Islam. So share this with them, bi'idhnillah. But yeah, inshallah, that's it for today. جزاكم الله خيرا سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.